Well, today's news sucks. There's no way around it. PlayStation's announcement this morning is going to be something that reverberates through gaming for years to come. It is the death knell of physical games. And that might sound like hyperbole, but I think this is the beginning of the end for physical games. It's on the clock on a timeline. PlayStation has announced January 2028 is the cutoff for all publishers making physical discs on PlayStation. We're going to take a look at the blog here, but I really just don't see any way where it's not the end across the board, because Xbox is certainly going to follow suit. Nintendo will hang on this generation and support physical carts, but we can already see that support eroding with the game key cards and all this nonsense. So is the Switch 3 gonna have physical media when no one else in the industry is doing it? They're the only ones making this. I just don't see it happening, and I think this is the end for physical media in games in a big way. And I always thought, you've heard the expression, I'm sure, not with a bang but with a whimper. I thought that's how physical media was going to go out for games, and I think that's kind of how it had been going. But no, it's going out with a bang, because Sony is slamming down a cutoff date and announcing it, over a year away, but, I guess as a courtesy to let them know when they're going to screw us over. But, January 2028, it's over. No more discs. And you'd think, okay, the PlayStation 6, there's rumors going around that it's going to have a handheld component. They've made the PlayStation 5 Pro with no disc drive. You had to buy that separate. Xbox and PlayStation both have base models that are discless. So the writing was on the wall, so to speak, but I really thought it was going to taper off and that it would just be this natural, erosion, because consumers, weren't picking up physical. But this, you got to wonder, like, you're not going to let it taper off. You're just ending it. And there's no way to see this as like other than this is less consumer choice. It's locking you to fewer options in how you purchase a game, and then also what you do with that game. This is going to end the resale market. It's going to end, potential for refunds, sharing with a friend. It changes everything. And next month I'm going to Classic Game Fest here in Texas, this huge, conference center game festival all about retro games. And I like to go, hunt for like Super Nintendo carts and, stuff from like PS4 and Xbox One even, but also the older like OG consoles and things. But it's a cool way to get games on the cheap. You can even get hardware there. And you're like, well, that's on a timeline now. That's on the clock. They're going to run out of stuff. It's going to get smaller and smaller. There's not going to be new stuff. The physical media era is over. And maybe I'm a dinosaur here, but this is not a natural way for this stuff to end. Let's take a look at the blog here. As consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. Now, that might be technically true, but it's going to have an effect on these games. A lot of people are going to consider if they even want to pick them up physical, or if they want to buy them somewhere else, or if it's even worth getting involved. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. Now, that sentence right there, this transition enables us to align more closely with our community, that is bullshit. That is not why they're doing this, because they don't go on, and we're going to read the rest of it, just like another couple sentences. They don't go on to explain how this benefits people already buying digital or how they more closely align with them. All right? This is just taking away choice from people who wanted to buy physical media. I'm not saying it's a negative for people who buy digital, but I don't see how it's a positive. I don't see how it impacts them. And in many ways, you can kind of see where this actually might be worse for people who buy digital, because Sony is going to restrict the options people have for purchasing this, giving them more control over pricing. It's just an absolute corporate corporate speak, just it's a straight lie. This transition will enable us to align more closely. How? Like, explain how then. It's just wild to me to see something like that. But let's finish it. We'll continue to prioritize our resources to drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games, whether that's at retailers or PlayStation Store. We remain committed to delivering a world-class gaming experience to our fans, and we thank you for your continued support. Come on, man. They're going to provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games. Oh, you can get your download code from the PlayStation Store, or you can get your download code on a little scrap of paper at Best Buy. It's not more choices. It's such this is so anti-consumer choice. And I understand that the majority of people buy digital. But like I said, this doesn't really benefit them. It might actually damage them if you think about it with price control here. We're not going to get games cheaper digitally. That's not what's going to happen. They're not going to cut the price of digital games. The games are going to cost what they've been costing, maybe more. Now, we might see more dynamic pricing, but we already had dynamic pricing in this industry. There already were games releasing at 20, 30, 40, 50, as opposed to like these $70 premium games and the 80 we're seeing from Nintendo and from GTA. So that's going to continue, but we're not going to see some radical across the board price cut because there's no more physical media. You're just going to see less consumer choice. You're ending the resale market. You're ending the ability to share with friends. You're getting less control of the product you're going to pay the same amount of money for. And this is in an era where we're seeing PlayStation Network have security issues. We're seeing PlayStation Network remove digital movies that people bought. I think it's Studio Canal is the studio they're having issues with on licensing, and it was like they're removing over 500 movies that people paid for from the service. That's crazy. This is bad news all around. I don't know another way to look at it. Now, one thing I do wonder, and this is like, maybe you could call it a silver lining, but for like what happens next, because I think a lot of people who are physical game enjoyers, who like it, that's how they buy games. I do think at the end of the day, they like games more than they like collecting, and so they will stay in the hobby. But my hope is they kind of join the ranks of people pushing for better consumer protection of digital goods, because they're going to care about this stuff because they cared about it with physical media. And we've got things like Stop Killing Games going on, this movement going through different legislative bodies in several different countries over things like, games being shut down and there's no version of them that remains playable. Things like The Crew very famously got shut down, and we're seeing other games get delisted or removed over licensing rights for music and such, even when they do come back. But we're seeing all this removal where the artwork is not getting protected. Now, it's important. It's now more important than ever that there's better consumer protections for digital goods, because I unfortunately, like, the battle's lost with physical. We're moving to Sony is effectively just ended the fight for physical media. I don't see how it continues from here, and so the digital protections become even more important and is even more of a pressing issue. And like I said, I hope the silver lining is that physical media fans become staunch advocates for this kind of stuff, because we need voices to be louder than ever about this sort of thing, because we're getting less choice here. We're losing out. Man, and you just think, like, what is going to happen here at a time like this, when the component crisis is going on, and the price of a PlayStation 5 is through the roof. The price of an Xbox is through the roof. There's reports the PS6 is going to, like, just to build the thing is $1,000. Then you got to box it, ship it, sell it. Like, how expensive is this thing going to be? The Steam Deck or the Steam Machine pricing was already laughable. What is a PlayStation going to be? $1,000 plus machine, digital only. Why would you not just get a PC at this point? And look, I'm someone who plays on PC quite a bit, so it's not like I hate digital games. I utilize digital games, but I just want the option to be there. And when you're thinking about a console like PlayStation, which doesn't have the benefits of a PC, one of its benefits, one of the selling points, was physical media. You take that away, you take away the cheaper price. What is the purpose of getting a PlayStation over a PC when you don't have physical media, it's not cheaper. Like, I just don't understand what the strategy is here. Just absolutely wild. A dark day for console gaming. No way around it. Just, and I'm sorry too. Like, if you made it this far and you're like, man, this guy's very angry. And I'm not normally angry in my videos like this. I do think a lot of this stuff has nuance. But two things. Number one, this is the second time I'm recording this because I had a technical issue with the sound earlier. So I'm a little bit frustrated there. But two, there's no real nuance here, I don't think. I understand that most people buy things digitally, but that doesn't mean this option should go away. This is not going to be good for anybody, even people who buy games digitally. You're restricting things in such a way that it's just going to give more power to the corporation selling, distributing these games. And there's no way to be like, well, I kind of see their point. I don't see their point. The point is they want to make more money, but at a certain point, it's like, yeah, I bet McDonald's could make more money if the burgers were made of literal shit. Like, at a certain point, no, there has to be a line here, and there needs to be some consumer protection. And if we're not going to get it with physical, I hope we start to see some changes with digital rights for consumers, because this is getting alarming. I really thought physical was going to be the bastion, and it's just not. I long thought, like limited run games, things like that would continue on, and gaming with physical would become almost like the way we've sort of seen a resurgence with vinyl or like UHD. I don't think that's what we're going to see here. It's a shame, man. It's a bad look for PlayStation, and especially the fact that they add let's jump over here. I almost forgot to mention this. Right at the bottom, for important updates on the PS Store for PS3 and PS Vita, click here. Okay, Sony, we'll click. I'm not even going to read the whole thing. I just wanted to click over here and point out to you, they're closing these stores. They're going to close these stores. All right. And it's over. So at the same day, and in this basically the same press release, and if you look at their tweet, they put them in the same place. It's over. They're saying you're only going to shop on the PlayStation Digital Store, and we're closing the old stores. So that's wild, man. Like, what a move. Okay, but if we jump down here, you'll see they say, as the PlayStation Store continues to evolve to support modern commerce systems, including updated payment processing standards, PS3 and PS Vita are no longer able to support these updates at the level required. So they're going to close these stores because they didn't build longevity into them. They didn't build these stores to be a perpetual market. And I'm supposed to believe that the PS4 or the PS5, that the current PlayStation Store is going to have longevity. It's going to be perpetual. I'm supposed to believe that modern commerce systems, that banks and financial institutions are going to stop innovating on the way they handle transactions or the security they provide at a technical level. These things are going to change. So now you're like, okay, when is the PS5 store shutting down? Is that 15 years from now? 10 years? I mean, it's just like absolute madness. And, I really do wonder if we're going to start to see a shift, if this is going to accelerate a shift towards PC gaming, because you hate to think about console gaming becoming, it's going to have all the drawbacks of PC gaming with none of the benefits. I'm really I'm scratching my head here, man. I just don't understand, like, at what point do these companies remember why people like console gaming? It's not just, maybe it's just that they're in front of a TV. I don't know, man. Maybe people just love the brand PlayStation and they'll eat as much shit as you want to give them because they want their trophies. But I really do think we're fast approaching an era where these things don't make sense when you line them up against a PC, where you have things like good old games and the ability to have DRM free licenses. You have multiple stores. Obviously Steam is the primary, but you have Microsoft's Xbox PC store. You have Epic, you have other launchers, other ways to get games. And on top of that, PC can do a lot more. So yes, it costs more, but I'm making this video on the same PC I play games on. Okay. And so when you start talking about a PS6 being digital only, no physical, and it's over $1,000, I don't understand what the play is. Anyway, I'm going off rambling here, but a dark day for console gaming. Very disappointing to see. But yeah, Let me know down below what you think. Feel free to light the comment section on fire. If you made it this far, help a small channel out. Like the video, leave a comment, hype me up. I really appreciate you watching. And yeah, let's hope for better days ahead. But this is terrible news, and it's hard not to feel a little bit like there's no coming back from this, no turning around for physical games, and that is very disappointing. But yeah, I should go.